Hello, this is Jacob Duke, and I'm excited to talk to you about my Week 5 journal. So, to start off, I was looking through all the different lesson stuff to introduce fractions to my students, and one thing that I absolutely love that I think I can, kind of bring that love and joy to my students is food. And so I would create a lesson around food to teach fractions to my students. And a lot of the stuff I was reading through the book showed a lot about, foods and, looking on the internet too. A lot of people talk about using foods to talk about fractions. And most people talk about pizzas because that is very simple and basic. And pretty much everyone has some experience working with pizza and eating pizza and, saying pizza. And so I'd start off the lesson being like, hey guys, we're going to talk about pizza today or food today. And let's talk about pizzas. So let's say I was to deliver a pizza to your house. How many slices come with a pizza? And I hope students will know, but maybe not all students will. But 8 slices is the common thing that comes with pizza. So each pizza usually has 8 slices, and all slices tend to be even. So I would talk to my students. Yeah. So if we have a pizza and all slices are even, there's 8 slices in there. Let's say I take 2 slices of pizza out. How many slices are left over? 6. And then I'd the 6 out of 8 on fractions, and I'd slowly start to introduce my students like that. And the more they got comfortable with it, maybe I'd move on to something with more food, and I'd say, hey, there is a candy bag in it, I'm shopping for Halloween, and it says that there's 100 pieces of candy inside this bag. And let's say I, have it out for Halloween, and I have, 5 students come in, or 5 children come in, and they each take a piece of candy. How many candy is left over? And, so it'd be 95. Okay, 95 out of 100. And I'd slowly teach them more and more about fractions and how they can do it differently and how they work and how they can interact with each other and how you might see them in the real world. So that's how I would introduce fractions to my students, using food, candy, because I absolutely love that stuff, and I'm sure they do too. And it's something that they can tangibly, think about because they all have experience with it. Okay, misconceptions. So the misconception that I decided to focus on was students sometimes apply whole number operations. So things like they'll add the numerator and denominator. So if it was 1/2 plus 1/2, the students will get 2/4. And so some things that I saw in the book that they talked about and they encouraged talking about with students is, one, discussing the difference between the numerator and the denominator with a student, trying to show them how that works. And so talking about that. And then once that they either have a really strong understanding of that, or maybe they start to grasp it a little bit better, teach them to walk through the problem as a word problem. So instead of being 1/2 plus 1/2, you can do, hey, you have half a pizza, and then your friend Jared over there, he also has half a pizza. If he gives you the half pizza that he has, how much would you have in total now? And they would be able to think, oh wait, I have whole pizza, and he has half whole pizza. Well, if I come together, that's one whole pizza, and be able to talk about it like that. And so kind of tell them, hey, maybe it's really confusing to add these fractions together. Well, then look at it as a problem like that, where there's maybe either it's pizza or something else along the lines like that. So that's how I would help teach my student to better understand that. And finally, I'm going to talk about GeoGebra. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but I think it's something like that. So virtual manipulatives, in my opinion, might be more helpful than physical manipulatives for multiple reasons. One, students are more used to the internet and technology. It just kind of the fact is nowadays that students use devices quite a bit, and so it's something that they're probably familiar with and might use more often. They probably have access to it more often too. So students are more likely going to be able to use virtual manipulatives more often than using physical ones. And also, there's just a lot more possibilities for us to work with virtual manipulatives because we're not limited to the number of physical manipulatives that we have. So, if we're talking about number lines or whatever, you might only have 30 number lines, and let's say kids break a couple of them, and you're slowly dwindling down the amount of number lines you have. Whereas if we use virtually, there's infinite amount of number lines, and there's infinite amount of manipulatives that students can work with. So I think that's also a big thing, is that you're not hindered behind resources. And also it gets students working with technology, which is something that they're going to be working with down the line. And there's so many different technology devices and different programs that students can use that gets them working with math and and kind of that they might use in real world situations to figure out how to do certain things. So I think that is some reasons why virtual manipulatives might be more helpful than physical manipulatives. But I went over to GeoGebra and I was playing around with this fraction bar here. And I was just saying like, oh, like, you can talk about, okay, one whole, and then compare all these different fractions to it. And then you can even talk about, percentages. I'd be like, okay, 1/2, that's 50%, right? So that's you can see clearly half of 100%. And then, get other stuff like, oh, if we're going to go 1/5, so we'll drag this out here. Go like this, drag out here. And then, we compare it, let's go ahead and compare it up to here. Oh, like you can clearly see that's 20% of 100%, so you can really clearly see these things and how they compare with each other. So that's what I ended up doing. That was really cool, and something I might actually use in my classroom in the future. Thank you for listening to my journal. Have a great day.